Hey y'all, this week on the podcast we're joined with our good friend Travis Tbone Turner, one of my favorite guys in the entire hunting industry. You're not going to find anyone more genuine, kind-hearted, or overall positive than this fella, and he's also one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to archery. So this conversation was entertaining, it was encouraging, and it was not short of laughs, so be sure to tune in. Lastly, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. If you are, head on over to iTunes, give us a rating, and write us a review. Mr. Travis Tbone Turner.
Yes, sir.
So, man, you've been like trying to get you on the show. It's been like trying to chase down a white whale.
I know it, and I tell everybody that tries to corral me, if you can't hunt me down, we question how good a hunter you actually are. You know what I mean? Because I'm a slow-moving big target.
Man, look, all jokes aside, I really appreciate you coming on here and taking time to talk with us for a few minutes. And
yeah.
I got to say this too. Because, like, before, I've been with Primos for 5 years now. And before I started working there, before I did anything in the hunting industry, I was a fan of Primos, obviously. And I was a fan of Bone Collector. And I always enjoyed watching you guys. And so, I mean, it's honestly just to get to sit down with you, like, it's cool for me, man, because I always enjoyed watching you. Still do.
Well, I appreciate it. It lets me know how long we've been in the industry. We're blessed to, like yourself too, we're blessed to carve out a career in this industry. And, when people tell me that, it's just like, man, you're getting old, T-Bone. Everybody's saying, man, I watched you back when I was 3. I'm like, don't say that. It makes me feel old. But thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I've always just, I know this. People are just naturally drawn to authenticity, and people that are good-hearted and good-natured. Like my brother, my brother's not that big of a hunter. I think like 2 years ago I took him hunting. He shot a doe. That's the first deer he shot in like 10 years. But even him, I told him I was doing this. He's like, "You're doing a podcast with T-Bone?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, I love that guy." And he never watched. He watches the Primo shows now, kind of because
Sure.
I'm involved. But he was like, "Man, I love T-Bone. You're a likable guy."
The Barney of the hunting industry, huh? I love you. No, I appreciate you saying that. And me, Michael, and Nick, we all feel the same way. I mean, like when we all three come from humble beginnings, and just like, everybody that's ever been a part of Primos and such, it's just good old country outdoors folks.
Yeah.
We're all humble, we're all appreciative, and, well, I tell this story all the time, but me and Michael always talk about Plan B because we come from such humble beginnings. We always think, well, man, this probably be the last year. God, I can't believe we're hunting, for a living and getting to go around the country. But this is probably the last year. It's going to fade out. And I tell Michael, I'm like, oh, surely somebody will hire me to, fletch arrows in their shop. Or he says, yeah, I'm sure Dad will let me run a sheetrock crew or something with him. So, yeah, we got something to fall back on. So I think it's good for us, all of us, anybody in the hunt industry or any industry to keep that humble so that you keep that drive and you're appreciative of the platform and the position that you have. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you saying that. We, when folks meet us and stuff like that, by all means, I don't mean this to sound arrogant, but, they're like, you can tell they're a little starstruck or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I just put my pants on just like y'all. We're just so appreciative. I mean, actually, the term professional hunter gets used a lot, and we hate that because we aren't pro hunters. We just happen to have a camera on us. Half the people we meet are probably way better hunters than we are, but we just are lucky enough to get to document our shenanigans out in the field. So,
That's what I get. I can't imagine how much you get it because, like I said, I've just been with Primos 5 years, and I get that a little bit. I say the same thing. I'm like, nothing about me is even close to that.
Yeah.
Like half the people that say that to me, like I said, they're probably better hunters than I am.
Absolutely.
I'm just blessed to get to go a lot. And get to hunt with a lot of people that know a lot more than I do. Like like Brad and Will and Troy and Jimmy.
Sure.
So tell me this, I'm sure you probably told this story a bunch, but I personally have never heard it in detail. Like, how did you get started? Like, I know you have a background in archery, and like, how did you get started that would eventually led to bone collector and all that.
Well, to take it back right out of high school or in high school, I worked for Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, and I did that for 9 years. And like so many people that are out of high school, you don't know what you want to do for a living. It's hard to figure everything out. And folks go to college or they go to trade school and they learn a trade or they learn something in college, and then by the time they get out, it's like, man, I do not want to do that for a living. And that's the way it was with me too. I mean, I'd always grown up hunting and fishing and loved the outdoors, but I'm like, I can't make a living doing that. So out of high school, I didn't do too good as far as grades. I graduated class of 86 and a half. So Nick always says I went to summer school just because I like the mashed potatoes and gravy. But but anyway, I did graduate. I made my mom proud as far as that goes. But I wasn't college material. And I said, well, I got to do something for a living. So I'm going to be a heating and air conditioning man. So I went for 2 years to a trade school to learn heating and air conditioning. And about the time I was going to graduate, I was like, man, I do not want to do this for a living. And I was still working for Mercedes-Benz, and I was shooting competitively on the weekend. So, fortunately, I just couldn't get enough of 3D tournaments and was pretty good at it, had a natural ability for it and was doing pretty good. And I got picked up by Browning to be on their national team. And I had, lucky enough, I won the World Championships in 1991. The blind hog found the acorn that year, so to speak. So I got I was able to win the World Championships, and I'm like, I got to decide on something to do. And I said, while I'm young and I don't have any, responsibilities, no family, no kids, no wife, I'm going to try to do something, because my dad and my uncles and my peers had always told me to do something, that you loved and you never feel like you worked a day in your life. And I'm like, I cannot continue to go to Atlanta fighting an hour and a half traffic every day, working on Mercedes, which was a good job and paid well. And I was like, well, I could do heating and air conditioning, but I really don't want to do that. I'm like, before I get responsibilities, I want to make sure that I try my passion. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of liked fishing more than hunting even then. But I loved archery. I knew I loved archery. I was spending as much time in the afternoons and the evenings and the weekends shooting tournaments and working on my bow and stuff. So I took a huge pay cut, went to work in an archery shop in Dallas, Georgia, worked there for 2 years, and then me and a buddy of mine opened our own shop, which was south of Atlanta, and I moved away from the Douglasville, Atlanta area where everything was a hustle and bustle. All the better hunting and fishing was south of there, and I bought a single-wide trailer for $19,000 and moved it on my buddy's horse farm, parked it in his pasture, and I lived in his pasture, and we ran our store. And 2 years after it started the store, I bought him out, so it was all my store. And wasn't knocking down no millions by no means, but we was scratching out a living doing something that we loved, and began getting a good following because of hopefully a personality, and our service and work was good on the bow. So I still toured and I still shot competition. Well, in that time, I met the guys from Realtree, a couple of the camera guys. David Blanton lives in the same town that I live in LaGrange. And
I love David Blanton.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Solid as they come.
Yeah.
And they began using my shop for their archery stuff. I had told them, they were getting their bows set up at, mass merchant stores and such. And, you could tell it was just halfway done. And they was having all these entertainers, country singers, baseball players. And you could tell maybe it was just a pet peeve or a little bit of me being anal, but I'd see guys in their advertisements draw back and their anchors way back behind their ear, or they'd have a picture with no peep sight in there. I mean, there's all kinds of things that were wrong. And I'm like, Realtree, and their video series, way back when, there was only 2 or 3 things going, Mossy Oaks Hunting the Country and Buckmasters and Realtree on TNN. That's probably before you was born, but but anyway, way back when, that's what was going on. And I said, this is one of the top videos and one of the top hunting shows. I mean, like, y'all, you need to make sure everybody's you set up correctly. So I said, use me by all means. I want to facilitate that. If that's my 15 minutes of fame is helping people get that, and I thought that was going to be it. So anyway, I began setting up their bows and country singers that would come into town, and then Jeff Foxworthy was going to start bow hunting, so I got him set up with a bow, and that's about the time that they had the Monster Buck series, and they had asked me about if I wanted to help set up the targets, because it was always a competition that Michael and David and Bill had always done, and they said, you want to help set up the targets because you are well versed in competition archery. So anyway, I'd set up the the courses and stuff, and then they asked me to be a part of it, play a sidekick character with Jeff Foxworthy. His character was named Willie, and they said, we can't call you Travis. What can we call you? And I never had been called T-Bone ever. And 5 minutes before we was going to start filming, I said, what about T-Bone? That's short and sweet and to the point. And they said, yep, we'll call you T-Bone. So the whole time we're filming this, we're thinking this was in 1999 or 2000. They said, I was thinking like, this is just me on TV for 15 minutes. I can check that off the list and go back to my life. And we filmed it. Everybody liked it. That was back when DVDs and VHS, well, it was VHS back then. And, you couldn't have all the instantaneous YouTube and digital platforms back then. So guys were taking the videos and stuff to their hunting camps. They, the wives didn't mind watching it because it broke up the monotony of just hunt after hunt after hunt. It was a little bit of comedy, hunt, a little bit of comedy and archery tournament. And so everybody liked it. So we kept doing it more and more. And then, me, Michael, and Nick became great friends through Realtree. And then, of course, when Michael left Realtree as an employee to start, he came to me and Nick and asked if we were interested in being a part of Bone Collector, a project that he was starting, and took us all of about 2 seconds to say yeah. So that came together in 2007, and in 2008, I had sold my store. Actually, I was still running my store all this time. So for 12 years, I had a store, and I sold it in 2007, and everything worked out just perfect. Just transitioned into Bone Collector, and then we thought, this will be a good 2 or 3 year run. We'll see how it goes. You always hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, and here we're still going. We're 12 years later, we're still going. So it's been a blessing for sure. So I'm still ready to fletch arrows in a archery shop once this thing closes up.
I don't know. Like you said, it's 2019 now, and y'all are still right up there at the top of the heap, doing good.
I know we things are changing so fast between, here we are doing a podcast that they're so popular, and digital media and YouTube and social media and television. It's you just don't know which crossroad we're going to go down.
No,
but
I've seen it change just in the short time I've been in the industry. And like I said, it's been. I'm still. I consider myself still very new to it. Yeah. But like just in that time, how much? Like when I first started, podcast wasn't a thing. Not to what it is now.
No.
Now they're very popular.
Yeah. Everybody seems to listen to them on flights or long drives, and it seems like, especially my son's in here with us now, but he's everybody lives at like 5 and 10 minutes at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like they don't have time for an hour-long show.
That's in the YouTube world and all Instagram and Instagram stories. Like I was watching your turkey season unfold through your Instagram page. All spring.
Yeah, it's like you can't hold on to a kill for 3 or 4 months. You got to get her done. You got to post it when you kill it. It's almost like you're pulling the trigger and hitting send all at the same time.
It's all happens fast, man. It happens so fast.
Yeah.
I got to when you said David Blanton's name, it made me think of a story with him. I love that guy.
Oh yeah.
Love that guy. I don't see him as much as I wish I did, but because I put David into that same crowd that I was putting. I was always as much fan of you and a fan of David. David was just somebody that I just looked up to.
Oh yeah.
And we have a local show in Jackson, Mississippi every year called the Wildlife Extravaganza. And I think it was 2 or 3 years back he came and worked it, and he was actually at the Primos booth because I don't know how that worked out, but he was at our booth with us, and so I got to hang out with him. And my first impression, I was like, man, he's just so down to earth, nice guy. I was like, man, this is great. And in the same time, like in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this is David Blanton I'm getting to hang out with. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years later, I'd gotten to shoot, for just Will and the everyone at Primos being as good natured as they are, they let me get an elk tag, and I got to shoot my first bull elk with my bow. And that show was airing that night on Outdoor Channel. It was a big deal for me, because I was, it was just a lot. And I'll never forget, as soon as that show aired, my phone buzzed. I looked at it and had a text from David. And he was just talking about, man, that's awesome. I'm so proud for you. And I was just so, because again, I was like the little 12-year-old me that watched him on TV, never saw that happen. I was like, man, David Blanton just congratulated me on an elk I killed. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And
yeah.
He's just, I don't know, he's always struck me as the kind of guy that likes to see other people succeed.
Yeah, he's really open-hearted and really thoughtful too, for sure. It seems like he says the right things at the right time, even when you don't even think he's watching or thinking about it. So, yeah, he's been a fantastic friend for so many years and very instrumental in, the Tbone platform, if you will.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he between him and Bill and Michael, they've really, and the whole Realtree team has been really generous to me. So, I love those guys.
Yeah, they're a good group of guys for sure.
Yeah. Well, and Primos too. I've always looked up to them. I mean, long before I was ever even a blip on the radar for TV and stuff, man, I always watched. I can remember way back when the phone bleat would come out, man. I was like, oh, man, we'd take that thing to – this is when I was hunting on management areas, so I'd take that phone bleat and – because, I mean, even to this day, I'm an old slickhead killer from way back. Man. So we'd be screaming on that thing, "Here come mama! Here come mama!" So, that thing was awesome. I've always loved Primos calls. Just a solid group of folks, and I mean, you could hear Will could tell a story. He could tell you about brushing his teeth, and you'd be sitting on the edge of the chair.
Exactly.
Seriously, I mean, you'd be like,
exactly.
It just gathers your attention so well. He's just such a great dude.
Yeah, he's one of the favorite people on the planet. He's good as gold. And I had so many of those. I said those moments. I still remember that first year when I was first getting to know Will, and I would almost be halfway neglecting my job of videoing because I'd be so caught up in, oh my gosh, I'm hunting with Will Primos, and I'd be, hey, film.
Yeah.
You got to film, you got to film.
Yep.
But I can remember the first time I saw him, call a deer in. I was like, I felt like I was watching, I don't know, I feel like I was watching Picasso paint a picture or something. I'm like, man, look, I feel like my whole career at Primos has been like, how in the world did I end up here? Getting to do all this.
Oh, I'm still that way.
Yeah.
I'm still that way. I said, man, I'm just a fat kid that drew a bow way back when, and I can't believe. I mean, I just can't believe this. It's like, this is like the dream life, and like I'm gonna wake up and be back at 24 years old, and running a construction crew or working on a construction crew.
Right.
Yeah.
What I like about it most is, listen to your story, and then it doesn't even necessarily have to be like hunting industry stories. I had the guys a couple weeks ago from Muscadine Bloodline Country, and every time you hear, it seems like the folks I've talked to, every time you hear stories like that of people that ended up, in like a career like yours, a career like theirs, it's just you got to respect something about someone that said, you know what, I'm at least going to give a shot at doing what my passion is.
Yeah.
And the story is not always the most clean cut, and it's not always just like one step led to this, and it was just this all pretty picture that led straight to it. But it always just, it always makes for such a inspiring story.
Oh yeah, I tell folks all the time, like, I started my own archery shop, and you just say that. Back in the day, I worked for 2 years, and I was a paid employee, and then I started my own archery shop. Well, I'm going to tell you, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything because it was a passion. But there again, for the first 5 years, it was all we could do to pay our light bill. Mm-hmm. It was all I could do to just make everything. But I would work 80 hours a week and not even think about it because you're pursuing your passion.
Right.
You're doing something that you love. I mean, I tell a lot of folks this physique was built on some bologna sandwiches and some frozen pizzas because, I mean, it's just like you live 8 years of just like in college. You know how the bare minimum, and you don't think about it at all. You see so many now. You can watch people on the social media and stuff on inspiration and stuff like that. And my dad and my uncles were always right because you see a lot of people that go to that job, that 9 to 5. They're miserable. They can't wait to get home. And they're miserable all the way up to the time that they retire.
Yep.
And they didn't really. They're looking forward to 62 when they can start living. And I'm like, the older I get, life's too short. You see so many people that are passing away too early, or they never make it to that, or they get to retire and they build all this pension and money, and it's like, okay, we're going to buy that camper in Winnebago and we're going to see the country, and then they got cancer and they die in a
just
year.
Never gets to that point. Mm-hmm.
I know it, and I'm not saying throw caution to the wind. You got to live and be responsible for your family, but got to make memories while you can, and do something that you absolutely love. I mean, so many kids now are I don't want to tell them not to go to college, but so many kids are going to college and not pursuing a trade
Yeah.
where we need that. We need the blue collar worker out there. I mean, he's kind of getting looked down upon now, where we need more of that, and you need more. Learn your trade. Be proud of being a machinist. Be proud of being a heating and air conditioning guy, and then do something that you love. You know, even if that's going garage hunting and selling stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
If you love doing that, you won't feel like you worked 8 hours a week. And before you know it, you done scratched out a living, and 35 years down the road, man, you have like, what, man, time just flew by, and I had a great time. So I just can't see. So many people are just so miserable in their job, and I'm like, just do something that you love. No matter what it is, just do something that you love.
I agree with that 100%, and that's coming from, like, I'm still in college.
Yeah.
I've actually got an online assignment that I have to turn in before midnight tonight. Like, and that's like, so it's taken me. I think technically I was like halfway through my junior year when I got the call to go work at Primos, and I wasn't going to turn that down. But the whole story that goes is, like, one, my mother would hung me by my toes if I just said I'm not finishing. And then the day I went in there, Will, like, stopped the interview midway through it and said, "I'm not going to hire you unless you don't promise me you're going to finish your schooling." I said, "Yes, sir, I'll finish my schooling." But with that being said, I still think, like, kind of like what the whole shtick about, I'm not trying to tell people don't not go to college either, but the whole shtick, like, you have to, I don't think that's true.
No,
like I
no.
said, there's some people that, like, I have very good friends that didn't go to college. They said they picked up a trade, and that's what they love to do. And you know what? Right? They're happy.
Yep.
They're happy doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and you see so many people that get locked in that I have to go to college, and I'll be honest, college just wasn't for me. I didn't know that at the time. I do now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that college is just not for them.
Yeah.
And then, like, my wife, her best friend is mid-40s and still paying on college tuition. And you see so many people now that have college educations, and I'm not bashing college by no means. It can be good, if you choose wisely, but they're working at McDonald's because there's no place for them in there, or they're trying to hold on for that $100,000 a year job that's just not there yet. You got to kind of get experience. When you get out of college, you don't have the experience, but then you got to have the experience. So somebody's got to give you a break. Just like when you get a car at 16, it's you can't buy a car till you get a job. You can't get a job till you get a car. Yeah. Somebody's got to give you that little old push.
A little bit of a help out.
Yeah. So I'm not anti-college by no means, but I would never shun nobody for saying, you know what, I just don't want to go to college. It ain't for me. I want to learn a trade. I want to do something that I'm passionate about, and by no means don't send out like a bump on a log. You got to work. You got to work for something passionate. Don't be a bump on a log, but do something you love and just go at it full force.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. So, like, let me ask you this: like, how, like, kind of that mindset that you just were talking about, like, how much of that transfers over? I don't even know if you think about it this way, but like I know. If I'm on, which 99% of the time, I use Instagram more than any other social media. If I see a post from you, whether it's a post or a story, like, it's gonna be some kind of positive, upbeat something. Like, you're always this positive figure. You're like, I'm always, it's like I rarely do. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that's like downtrodden.
Yeah.
Is that something you try to be? Like, do you try to be this uplift? Because you are. Like, I always, like I said, you're uplifting, you're encouraging.
That. Yeah, I guess that's just the way I'm wired. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all have bad days,
right,
or lip poked out, but like after I've traveled for months on months doing events and stuff like that, it wears you down. But I get there thinking, I'm like, man, I could be roofing a house, I could be baling hay.
Right.
I mean, I suck it up, big boy. You got a pretty good job, you got a pretty good life, and it takes just as much energy to be happy and smiley and try to spread that on. I guess I'm wired as a people pleaser, and I mean you see negative stuff and you kind of cringe about it, but
right,
it ain't like I have to refrain hard from saying something. I don't know, I just want to make people laugh, and I realize I guess I'm a outdoor entertainer or whatever. I should probably post a little more stuff of a lot more hunting, but I don't want to drive it down the throat. I mean, that's what social media is. I mean, that's the kind of things we're doing, is funny stuff at home. I try to make it a good mixture of hunting and shooting and laughing, and then, taking care of a sponsor or a partner here and there.
Right,
So try to make it a good mix. But no, if something's funny, I want to share it. No different than the way I look at it is not fans or followers. And Michael and Nick feel the same way. It's just one big old group text. We got 100-something thousand group texters. That's the way I look at it. So when you get in a good group text and you send in funny stuff and that's the way I feel about it. I'm like, man, I bet people would like this. I want to share this. Or I'll see something and somebody else posted it. I'll put it on there too. So I just want to share the happiness,
Yeah, for sure.
There's too much negativity in the media today anyway.
Way
I'm like,
too much.
Yeah, I ain't got time for that.
Way too much.
I got to where I don't even watch the news anymore just because of that. It just brings you down in the dumps.
Yeah. Oh, it's mostly all it is. Just sad stories.
I know.
If you haven't checked out Primos.com lately, you're doing yourself a disservice. You can go there right now and order all of your favorite Primos products and have them shipped directly to your door. And right now, we're offering free shipping on all orders of $75 and more. Check it out. You won't regret it. One thing I always appreciate, because, like, I don't know how you are, but, like, with my crew that I work with, here's where I'm going with this. Like, it's not uncommon for me to see a post from you that's UFC related, like, or MMA related. And with the crew that I work with, I'm an island as an MMA fan. Like, none of them watch it.
Really?
None of them.
Me and my wife, that's probably the tightest bond we have is UFC.
Really?
We love it. We love it. UFC. And you're gonna laugh at me, but golf. I love watching golf. I don't like playing it. I have no desire to play it, but I love watching golf, following golf, and UFC. Well, and I like all sports, but UFC and golf are my two favorite to watch.
Yeah.
So
like Jordan, I see Jordan during the hunting season more than I see any other human being, and he'll walk in. You watching that again? I'm like, yeah, the fight's on.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch something else. I get no love.
Oh, I love it.
And all I can think of is, I'm like, this is a Friday. I'm like, if it was one day later, Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou are fighting tomorrow. We could have watched that.
Exactly. I'm the same way.
Yeah. What about I gotta give some love to our mutual friend Corey Anderson.
Yep, solid as they come.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey is a great dude. You and I've talked about it actually, but we've both been friends with him for a while now, and got to meet him. I was speaking at a Whitetails Unlimited banquet up right on the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border, and he lives right there about 40 minutes away.
Right.
Invited him over, him and his wife and his son. They all came to the event, and they hung around for a while. But, yeah, man, he is he's a great UFC fighter. I personally, and you and I have talked about this, I think he's kind of getting shafted or kind of getting the cold shoulder. It's due. He's time. His record's proven it. And I think that something will happen after John Jones fights. I think once they see where that all shakes out, I think they're going to let him climb the ladder, and they should. He deserves it.
Yeah. I can't even remember who posted it. There was and Corey, because he's going to listen to this. I know he is. So we're throwing out some love for you, man, because I don't get it either.
Yeah.
They put out there's some kind of list of like people in the top 5 that he's beaten.
Yep.
And then, like, compared to who they've lost to. And it's like the rankings make no sense.
Yep.
Like, I'm like, why? But
it's because he's country's cornbread and he's a hunter. He needs to get all tattooed up and put something under his forehead. And you got to have a niche, Corey.
Yeah. He is ate up with hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Ate up with it. I text him after he fought Ilir Latifi last, and I texted him, and the first thing he said was, man, when I got back to the locker room, I picked up my phone, and I had my trail cam sent me a picture of a shooter buck.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you redneck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he always, chit-chatting back and forth, would you try this, do this, or certain things. So, yeah, that's always fun to mess with him on things like that, and, what little bit I can help, I try to help all I can. I'm sure you do the same too. Yeah, but it's funny because you see a lot of the guys, and we're all friends with several of them, and they seem to up and down, and like, okay, I'm not training now, and hey, I'm gonna go into 8 weeks of camp, 12 weeks of camp, get back down. Corey's ready anytime. Yeah. He's almost like Cowboy Cerrone. You call him 8 days, and he said, I'm ready. Yeah. He's sitting on G waiting on O.
Always.
He is ready.
That dude's always in the gym.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
And just a good, solid dude, man. He's got his head on straight. He's so focused. So, I hope to we hadn't made our schedule yet, but we hope to hunt together. We'd always do a Pennsylvania, New Jersey
Yeah.
show where we do eradication. So if we do that this year
Yeah.
in October, we're going to have Corey over and share camp with us. Yeah.
I hope y'all get to do that. I always like those shows too.
Yeah.
Those are always.
Who don't like stacking them up like cordwood?
Especially it's just a different setting. You know, it's
Yeah.
always fun to see something different. I mean, y'all got them walking through, like front yards and
I know.
stuff. It's funny.
Everybody, everybody aspires to go to Kansas, Illinois, Iowa. I mean, that's a given. But you think of all the hunters that are in the Northeast, those guys like to hunt too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and there's way more hunters right in that area. We got to celebrate the way they have to do it. So, and man, they got plenty of targets. That's for sure.
We went the first Pennsylvania, the only Pennsylvania hunting experience I had was last spring. We went hunting with Levi Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
Turkey hunting.
Yeah. Doesn't he shoot a bow?
Sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
I had to give him a few pointers when
Yeah.
I was up there, but but man, the turkey hunting up there was crazy.
Yes.
And the country up there is beautiful.
Yes, it
That's why I
is.
was like, man, I need to. Which we were going to go again this year, but we ended up having to cancel last minute because the weather's going to get us.
Yeah.
But and that we were actually. I was trying to work it. I tried hard to get where I could go turkey hunting with Corey this year.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. We didn't start talking about it till too late in the spring. But I told him, I was like, next spring we're gonna make something happen because he hasn't killed a turkey yet. But
He's been trying, man. I mean, all spring long, following him on Instagram, man. He sure has been trying.
Yeah. Oh, the man has no shortage of dedication.
No, every day. And it was good to see him work. Him and his dad drove down and worked on their Kentucky land here a while back.
Yeah.
They got a lease or something in Kentucky, and they were driving down.
Yeah.
That was good to see, too. You could tell that family is key to him like it should be for all of us, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's just one of those guys that you like to see succeed.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
Lord willing, he'll start getting a little bit more.
Yeah, it's been a while since he fought, so I'm hoping he'll fight before the end of 19's out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this one question popped into my head. It's kind of taking a sharp right on topic, but I knew I wanted to ask it. There's a post you made. It's been a while back, but it was about it was about why kinetic energy doesn't matter as much in archery as much as you say it. It was the clip you posted with it was that baseball game where the pitcher threw it and hit the bird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always curious about it because that's all that's all you hear is kinetic.
Yeah.
Kinetic. You got to have kinetic.
Yeah, kinetic energy is just a way. It's a way to measure. It was basically invented, or if you read anything from Dr. Ashby, the formula was for bullets. But they transferred that over because of weight and speed to archery. Well, archery kills better because of momentum, mass weight. So kinetic energy is actually measured. This is the redneck terminology, by the way. So
which is what I'll understand.
yeah, because this is not Sheldon on Big Bang. I'm not fixing to blow your mind, but kinetic energy is measured at the animal's hide, meaning like that's the energy that is out of there. Because what happens is a lot of people say they take a light arrow going 320 feet per second, and they do the formula of where you 450,240 divided by feet per second, and you have a formula, which the formula's out there. I mean, I think I can relate it. I mean, I can spit it out, but anyway, the formula determines your kinetic energy. So you take a light arrow that's going 320 feet per second, and it gives you the kinetic energy. Let's just say that's 70. Well, then I take a heavy arrow going 240 feet per second, something that's like 125, 140 grains heavier, but it's only going 240 feet per second, and the kinetic energy is like 72. So I'm only gaining, in people's heads, like I'm only gaining 2 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Mm-hmm. Well, that's I would much rather have the speed. So why would I shoot something heavy and slower? Mm-hmm. That's the thought process of most folks. Well, that is just measured at the height of the animal. Momentum and weight keeps it going through. You know what I mean? It's almost like if I took a ping pong ball and I threw it at you going 150 miles an hour, or I took a baseball at 50 miles an hour, you'd rather get hit by the ping pong. It's going to hurt less. Yeah. Because what it means is the energy is dispersed at the hide. Right. Meaning, like, because it's light, it doesn't maintain that kinetic energy. Yeah. It hits and then it's done. And then if the arrow's flying wrong, if the arrow's flying straight, the energy goes right down the arrow, just like if you're driving a nail. So if you hit the hammer, you hit the nail right dead center, all the weight, that mass weight drives that nail right into the woods. But you know how we all shank it. Right. If you just slice off of it, all that weight grazes it, it knocks it in a little bit, but the mass weight continues off to the side and puts you a big old scar on the wood.
Gotcha.
So with your arrow flying true and more heavy weight, that's why we, like with bow fishing, you're shooting 35 pounds with a 1,200 to 1,400 grain arrow. Penetrate through 6-8 fish and a root in the bottom. You don't have any problems with it. So that's why people are successful with real heavy arrows and recurves at like 40 and 45 pounds. It's because of the mass weight.
Right.
You know, like if you took a Hyundai and it 40 mile an hour and went through a brick wall, or you took an 18-wheeler, 40 mile an hour, the 18-wheeler is not going to be stopped. So mass weight's going to win. Now there is, I mean, you know, you can get too slow to where trajectory is a problem, and you know, your yardage judging is off quite a bit. So that can be a problem for sure. But me personally, I like a real heavy arrow. 7 grains per pound of bow weight is a good average. I'm actually a little heavier than that. And I like to be on a Hun shaft about 14% FOC up to about 18 or 19% FOC. And then going about 280 feet per second, 260, 70, 80, 290 feet per second. That combination is forgiving, easy to steer, makes the bow real quiet because you have mass weight. It's not making the bow erratic.
Right.
Real forgiving as far as, you know, because we as humans, we're going to mess up. So it makes it more forgiving, quieter in flight, and then also it's better in the wind too. So it helps with crosswind because of heavy FOC and heavy weight. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah,
why
for sure.
Yeah, kinetic energy is just measured. It's a good number to put on there. It's like, yeah, I'm developed. This is how efficient my bow is. That's the way kinetic energy.
Right.
So if you're pulling 70 pounds and whatever arrow weight you're shooting and whatever speed you're shooting, it'll tell you how efficient it transfers the energy of that bow into the arrow and how efficient it is. It maintains its efficiency. Yeah. But momentum is what's going to get you the penetration and the redneck terminology, knockdown power.
The knockdown power, yeah.
Shooting white-tailed deer, you know, most of the average small white-tailed deer that we got in the southeast, you know, you can get away with faster and a little lighter. But, you know, if you hit a shoulder just right, if you hit you know, an elk hunt or a big mule deer or hogs and stuff like that,
even, yeah,
you can run into some problems. So, you know, everybody wants to think.
Yeah, I think the first time that I hog hunted or tried to shoot a hog with a bow, I was on the side of I wanted as fast as I could get.
Yeah. And
I think my arrow probably went in that because I hit him. I kind of hugged the shoulder a little too tight. I think I got like 3 inches of penetration.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my arrow was way too light to be trying to shoot a hog.
Yeah, and you can see, like, especially with TV and so many people recording their stuff. You know, when you got something light, they kill the deer. But a lot of times the arrow won't go through.
Yeah.
It won't punch a hole on the other side. I mean, luckily these broadheads that, you know, we're all shooting, and there's a lot of great broadheads out there, you know, they're doing enough damage that you are retrieving the deer. However, you know, my thinking is I like to measure the penetration in the dirt on the other side of the critter with 2 holes, 2 big massive holes. So, you know, you're not really building an arrow or the forgiveness for the perfect shot, because you can take a field point and kill a deer with the perfect shot, but with a moving critter and us being humans,
yeah, for sure,
you wind up having problems as far as you know, penetration and stuff. Yeah. So we're building it, the forgiveness, so to speak, so that we get the right penetration, and then we do make those marginal shots. We're still going to get the critter. We owe it to the critter.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've built, you know, I say this because I've been self-proclaimed mad scientist archery-wise. I've built setups from 340 feet per second, screaming super light, you know, all the way down to 220, basically shooting a bow fishing arrow to hunt with. So, so I you know, I've experimented them, and to me, that 7 grains per pound, good rule of thumb, 15 grains FOC, 15% FOC, and then to also you know, shooting at 260 to like 290, that's a good combination, great combination, yeah.
That speed, you like that speed mode because it's just forgiving? Is that?
Yeah, well, it makes it hard to reach higher speeds with that heavy of an arrow.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up going up 80 pounds, and then you're, you know, not that you can't shoot 80 pounds, but then you end up getting a little less forgiving, you know, by going up higher poundage. So, a good. I like to take a 70-pound bow and just bottom it out, whatever it may be, and that ends up being 72, 3-4 pounds. Bow seems to perform better being bottomed out, and not so sloppy. So that's what I kind of like.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like hearing you say that because it seems like every person that we talk to is that has an archery question. It's everyone wants the fastest bow they can possibly have. They just speed, and get light, like to the point of like, man, why are you shooting an arrow that light for?
And here's the other thing is speed. We being guys, we're macho and speed, and it's nice to be able to say, yeah, I'm shooting 320. And I went through that, and I see folks, because I having a shop for so long, I see things like that. But doing testing, all deer are killed 40 yards and less.
Right.
40 yards and less. Well, you have to shoot over 320 feet per second to see a difference in your pin gap under 45 yards. So from 0 to 40, you're not going to really change that hardly at all.
Yeah.
As long as you're shooting 280 feet per second, or around 280 feet per second, you've really got to shoot 320 to see under 40 tighten up any. So you're not really gaining anything. You are at longer distances, but my thinking is if I'm going to take a shot over 40 yards, well, first of all, I put my corn piles closer than 40 yards, you know what I'm saying? But if I've got to shoot farther than 40, I'm going to have a laser rangefinder. I'm not going to take a pop shot at a rut and bucket, beyond that far.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I know the yardage and I can make a good, methodical, slow, good shot. So I'm going to know how far he is. So it's not really going to matter.
Yeah.
And then I want that arrow to be forgiving when it gets there, and then I want it to have enough weight to do the damage when it gets there.
Right.
So I'm trying to consider all things. I think that 260 to 290 is a good speed. Anything faster than that, like I said, you got to be going 320 to 340 to see a difference.
Yeah.
Bows will do that, but when manufacturers are telling us their fastest speeds, everybody thinks that they need to shoot that fast.
Yeah.
All that does is let you know how efficient that bow is. Helps them sell it because there are speed freaks out there.
Right.
But with the bow companies building more efficient and innovative cams and bow systems, we should take that and harness it. So instead of 20 years ago, when we had to pull 80 pounds just to get 260, now we can shoot a real heavy arrow, real comfortable at 62, and do things way better than we ever could. A real quiet, solid bow that's never going to tear up on us. Harness that energy for a better, quieter, more forgiving killing machine.
Right, because that's the other thing too. Everyone thinks they're like, what's the optimum? What's the heaviest these limbs can go? Well, that's what I'm gonna pull.
Yeah.
People will be up there sky drawing or having a hemorrhage just about trying to get that bow back. When, like you said, you can put it at 62 or whatever and just like butter, whoop,
exactly.
and then you're not spooking anything, and then you can. And that's like the other thing too. Like a lot of places we hunt at, like at Cottonmouth, the place on the river. Like, you're not going to get a shot over 40 yards most
Can't
of the
see
time.
farther than that, hardly.
No.
Yeah.
Hardly ever. Like, and you're like, what's the point? And that's interesting, too, because I bet, like, because, I mean, I say, like, I didn't know that once you'd have to get to 320, 340 speeds before you saw difference in those pins. I mean, that makes it then, if it gets to that point, then like, really, what's the point?
Exactly.
When you can, I don't know. Like, I personally, like, I couldn't take a shot at a deer at 60 yards and call it ethical. I'm not good enough for all that.
Well, and I practice out long distance. Like I posted something the other day of where like I got a one of my outdoor targets I've got where I can shoot 140 yards.
Yeah.
And not that I would ever shoot at a deer that far. I mean, maybe for the second shot if I happen to goof up the first one.
Right.
But I like shooting that far because everything has to be right, and plus it's so therapeutic watching an arrow fly that far.
Right.
So I shoot that far, and it builds your confidence so that under 40 and 30, and it just seems your confidence is so high.
Yeah.
So, and it's fun, to get out there with your buddies and shoot that far. So that's why I shoot that far. I mean, there was several people that posted, you don't want to be shooting at a deer that far. Well, I know that. I know that. I mean, and I don't condone that you need to, but I'm just saying it sure is nice to be able to do it, so.
The old keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
That's Levi. I was talking to Levi, it's been, I don't know, a year or two ago, but I was telling him about that. And I told him, I said, man, honestly, I rarely shoot over 40 or 50, even on the range, just because, I'm like, because I'm not shooting that far. He said, man, I would highly suggest, like, start, like, doing what you're talking about. And I ended up getting a a roller sight, an adjustable sight,
Mm-hmm.
just because he said, dude, you practice at those long distances. He said, you get to where you can get consistent at those. He said, that makes 40 and in where your shots are. He said, you wouldn't believe the difference you'd see.
Oh, yeah.
Once you start, if you can get consistent at shooting, 60, 70, 80, 90 yards.
Yeah.
To even and again, I'm no Levi Morgan or Tim Gillingham.
Yeah.
I can't make a 4-inch group at 90 yards, but I'm better than I used to be at it.
That's right.
And it made 40 and in happen a lot easier for me.
Well, and then back in the day when you thought, like, I can't shoot that far, now you say, well, I can shoot that far.
Right.
Just to shoot it.
Yeah.
You can shoot that far, so it does help your confidence. And like I said, it was fun. And one of the posts, I don't know if you'd seen it or not, but a lot of guys don't have roller sights. They can't afford a $300 or $400 sight.
Right.
So I took a piece of PVC pipe, a 20-foot stick, put it behind the target, and you put duct tape every foot. So you got something to aim at. So the guy, Billy Joe Lunch Bucket, that's got only a 40-yard sight, he's got something to hold on. He might not be hitting exactly a dot, but he can see how tight his groups are.
Yeah.
So he can shoot, out to 80, 90, 100 yards, even with a pin sight that only goes to 40 or 50.
See, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, that man. Like I would never think about doing that.
Well, everybody's held on a tree limb or something to hold over.
Yeah.
But the tree limb's always changing, or this leaf moves or something other. So I took a piece of 20-foot, and I can shoot all. I'm like, my sight don't go to 140. I just take a 100-yard pin and back up, and then hold it like 6 or 8 foot over the top of the target on one of those little black pieces of tape, and just shoot me a group. You know, just to see where the group is. It might not be hitting a. You can't put me a can down there and me hit it.
Yeah.
Because it might not be where I'm at. But I'm just saying I'm going to shoot the tightest group I can.
Yeah. You can see how consistent you are.
Yeah, exactly. I got a 4-foot target there, square target that I know the arrow's going to get in, so that you're getting practice at that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to shoot a deer that far. It would take some Kentucky windage, but. But I was going to tell you before I forget. The last time I looked on Pope and Young statistics, do you know what the average distance is that Pope and Youngs are killed? Pope and Young record book deer are killed?
I do not.
17.2.
Really?
So that right there should put into perspective everybody thinking, I got to be able to shoot to 60. No, just the average. That's the average.
That's the average.
So that means there's a bunch of them getting shot at 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So, with that said, 17.2. Last time I looked, it may be different. So don't beat me up if it's 18.1 now.
No, I like that average. It's going to stay. I'm going to say 17.2.
Yeah. So
that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'd like to go to the tree knowing that I'm prepared to shoot as far as I'm confident at. But if someone said, Lake, right now, you can take a deal and every deer that you shoot for the rest of your life is going to be top pin, I'd go, yep.
Me too.
Shake my hand.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, there it is,
Chris Ashley used to call it that starvation pin.
I remember watching that video.
Oh man, it's so good. That's such a perfect name for it too.
I remember watching that first time he said that. I thought that was the funniest thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was perfect.
Chris is a funny human being.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's dry, but he's fun. Man, he's just like quick-witted. Says it when he needs to. Man, he's so awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's But yeah, I mean, social media will make you think like, well, I can't shoot to 60 or 70. By all means, folks that are listening to this, just because people are posting those things, it's really just having fun. Shoot within your means, but man, have fun. Fling arrows and those little competitions with my buddies in the backyard are some of the funnest days I've ever had, and that's what makes the fall time so much sweeter. So, biggest thing is just flinging arrows. Get some shots out there, some quality shots, and that'll build you on up.
Yeah, and having fun with it, like you said.
Yeah.
That's one thing that is one of the things that tends to get zapped first by social media. People want to suck the fun out of stuff.
Absolutely. Shoot that slick head and ride her around, man. This one broke 100 pounds.
Who cares? Oh, that deer's not 5.5.
No.
It's hunting, man.
Absolutely,
it's
man.
Hunting.
If it tricked your trigger, shoot it. That's the way I look at it. As long as it's legal.
I tell everyone that. I'm like, look, if you're hunting legally and ethically, you're good in my book.
Me too.
Have
Absolutely.
fun. Have fun with it. That's what it's supposed to be.
We get asked all the time, what do you think about crossbows? I'm like, I'm all for them. If it's legal, if they made a wrist rocket season, I'd be all for it. Because, I mean, I'm going to be old one day and not be able to pull my bow. I'm going to have me a crossbow. Yeah. And then for guys that's on a budget that can't afford it, bows for every one of their kids and stuff, get you a crossbow and everybody can go hunt. I'm all for it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was, I may be completely wrong. I want to say it was Jeremiah Dowdy But he said it was. I know I was talking to somebody, and he was having success with crossbows, introducing new hunters, because like new hunters that were kind of not kids, but people that were 20s or 18 and up that never shot a gun, and a gun kind of intimidated them because they'd never shot one before. And then you can't just throw someone a bow and it takes some. But a crossbow is kind of like that happy medium.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't take as much practice to get efficient with it, and they're not scared of it.
And it builds their interest big time.
Exactly.
And it makes them want to. They'll look into that compound.
Yeah.
Hoyt did a study actually several years ago, and they said that 64%. That was the number back then. They said that 64% of anybody that tries a crossbow that's able to graduates right on over to a compound.
Yeah.
And I thought that was some great numbers.
That is. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And once somebody's a compound or even a crossbow shooter, there's so many more opportunities within city limits to hunt.
Yeah.
The season's longer. So, yeah, it's a win-win if you're an archery hunter. Yeah. You're okay in my book.
Yeah. Well, you shout out to Levi Morgan. Everyone, I think they just assumed him to be one of those crossbows. His son Landon, killed his first deer with a crossbow this year.
Absolutely.
I was like, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Why would it not be?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
All around.
We've already mentioned Levi way too many times. I hope you can edit his name out of this podcast at least half the many times that we've mentioned him.
You're right. I try to usually if I'm talking about Levi, I'm usually giving him grief. I've been way too nice to him.
Yeah.
I wanted to give all the positivity towards you and Corey Anderson. So.
I've got a picture that I keep. This is a funny story on Levi's. When we're at the SHOT Show, we always have to do photo shoots and stuff for Outdoor Channel. So when we go, they have a room set up and they tell you to bring your camouflage and they run through the poses and do interviews and stuff with you. Well, Levi's times was when we were there and we were sitting there and Levi sat down and they had the little Hollywood makeup girl, had him stripped down, on his face and was making him up. And I just took a bunch of pictures and I said, I got these. The makeup girl's got green hair and, looked like she fell face first in a tackle box, had all kinds of, she had all kinds of piercings and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to use this when I need it, Levi. So
you just remember that.
Yeah, I got it. And a couple times throughout the season, he'll kill a big deer and I'll just send him that picture. Congrats.
Congrats.
Yep.
Remember when?
Yep, exactly. So
golly,
that's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, look, man. I know I'm not going to eat up any more of your time. I know we had to do some bobbing and weaving to get met up with one another, and you got to drive to get back to the house. I got to drive ahead. So, but man, look, really, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
No, absolutely. I love doing podcasts, and I've been told that I could talk the horns off a billy goat, so I enjoy it. I'm like we said at the beginning, we're all blessed to have a career in this industry. So I love talking about it, and if it inspires anybody to get out there and hunt a little bit more, or we touched on a little bit ago about how we're 2.5 million hunters down than what we was 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. So one thing I'd like to leave on is like encouraging. We all talk about taking kids hunting. That's a given. But besides taking kids hunting, make sure that you're the guy that's looking over the fence next door that's kind of like on the fence. Well, I don't know about hunting, or I do. Mm-hmm. When you're out there skinning that deer over, invite him over. We've been given a platform, and by all means, we need to shout about getting more hunters into the industry and out into the woods so that we can keep our heritage going. But I would like to say, if every licensed hunter got one other person, let's say a backslider hunter or someone that was on the fence or showed hunting and outdoors in the positive light, if we could just get one hunter a year by every licensed hunter, man, we'd have those numbers turned around big time. So with that said, instead of giving him the finger when he's looking over the fence, invite him over. Say, hey, man, we about to grill out this backstrap. Come on over here, man, and give him an ice cold beverage, and y'all sit down and let him learn all about it, rather than the barbaric figure that they think that we are. Show them how much fun it is 365 days a year, listening to podcasts, shooting bows in the backyard with your buddies, going shopping at all these box stores, and going out to your land and putting food plots in and trimming limbs. All of that is the meat and potatoes. And when you kill the deer, that's the cherry on top. Or another redneck term is that's when the pimple pops. So anyway, all of that being said, just by all means, we're going to do our part. And we've been lucky enough to have a platform to scream it from the rooftops, and we're going to continue to do so. But, we can't take the whole load. Every licensed hunter needs to make sure that they take, or at least show hunting in a positive light, whether it be social media or your neighbor or somebody at church or anything like that. Just make sure that you try to get hunting turned around again. We want more hunters.
Exactly, absolutely. And that, in that same vein, I've said that before on this podcast. Say, to your point, say if you have a buddy or anybody that's interested in hunting that's kind of looked at as intimidating or whatever. You don't want them to go to your page and see the first hunting picture that you have, click on it, and it be some kind of negative post or something that comes across as macho or you want it to be what hunting is, man.
That's right.
Fun. That's how you want. That's why it's like post things to where someone who doesn't know about it or is thinking about it will look at it and find it appealing.
That's right.
That's how I think.
Yep. Or like, man, golly, I watched that show or I watched that clip and those guys had a good time. I want to be a part of that. And then everybody talks about eating organic and stuff. Well, being a hunter is the original organic.
Right.
So, that just goes hand in hand. If you're checking off negatives and positives, the positives far outweigh if there even is any negatives about hunting. I mean, honestly, to single mothers, there's so many single mothers out there, it may take a little extra effort, but try to get your kids in that, because kids that grow up in that hunting lifestyle, I mean, you almost don't, they're on autopilot. You don't really have to worry about them. They're going to be solid, good kids. So, there's just so much good from it. It's more than just killing and eating the critter. There, you get so much more life lessons out of it all year long. So, I don't know. I could talk about it and preach about it, but at the end of the day, it's just been so good to me and my family. And I mean, I can't imagine a world or my lifestyle without it. I mean, period. I got to do it.
Agree.
Hunting and fishing. So, speaking of, I guess we should tell them too. We've met up. We're down here in South Alabama. The way this worked is Lake was going to come to my house 4 or 5 days ago, and we had a major thunderstorm come through, and we was out without power for 2.5 days. So we had to cancel that, and Lake was on a trip down to Florida, and I was coming to pick up a boat that I was getting in South Alabama. So we are down here, and I'm talking about we are in lower Alabama, right on the Florida border.
Low.
Yeah, at the guy that owns the boat dealerships, he brought us back to his house, and we're having this podcast in his man cave for the guy that owns these pontoon boats that I was getting. So where there's a will, there's a way, and we did it.
Yeah, I think as soon as we end this episode, I'm gonna hop on his Bowflex over there, get a few reps in.
I know it. We're looking at bars, TVs, and Alabama Roll Tide memorabilia, and it's about to burn me up being a bulldog in here.
Yeah, listen, I'm a Mississippi State man, so I'm not really a threat to anybody, but I can't really handle all the Alabama either.
They've had their moments for sure.
Oh yeah, back in the Prescott days. It was good. It was good.
Yes, sir. Well, make sure you tell everybody over at Primos, Will and Jimmy. I was so proud that we didn't mention Jimmy at all this whole podcast.
That's always a goal. Ooh, that's like a big check off. Like, do we get through another one without talking about Jimmy? Yes. Okay. Yes. Mark it. That was gonna. It's 5 stars. 5.
But tell everybody over there that I said hello. We appreciate everything y'all do, and hope everybody has the rest of the good summer and hunting season be here before you know it.
Same to y'all. Couldn't thank you more. So I guess we can wrap this one up.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Thank y'all for listening. As always, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to send them in. If you don't follow Tbone on social media, you're missing out, and you should. And that's it. We're done. Thank y'all for listening.